That's going to work. All right, we're ready to roll. All righty, get the instruments and we will start. Songbook. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Hey Govinda, hey Gopal, Keshavamana Jaya. Hey Govinda, hey Gopal, Keshavamana Jaya. To me, Parama, Prabhu Parama Doila. To me, Parama Doila, Prabhu Parama Doila. To me, Parama Doila, Prabhu Parama Doila. Keshavamana Vajina Jaya, Keshavamana Vajina Jaya, Keshavamana Vajina Jaya, Keshavamana Vajina Jaya. Pita Pashanapari, Mayurera Shikodori. Pita Pashanapari, Mayurera Shikodori. Murali Mane Tule Radhena Murali Mane Tule Murelam. To me not Gopal, Prabhu Gopal. To me Mahatera Gopal, Prabhu Mahatera Gopal. Keshavamana Vajina Jaya, Keshavamana Vajina Jaya, Keshavamana Vajina Dina Daya Shubhamana Dina Daya Bhavi Vaya Bhajan Shimadu Sunana Baba Vaya Bhajan Shimadu Sunana Nipada Manjana Vinarayana Nipada Manjana Vinarayana Shavamanava Dina Daya Shavamanava Dina Daya Hey Govinda, hey Gopal, Shubhamana Jina Daya. Hey Govinda, hey Gopal, Shubhamana Jina Daya. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paracharya All Siddhara Sitashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Shyam Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Maturanam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is to the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya. Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vinanta Samani Chinamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pacharne Nirvashesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Dejatarne Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, let me read the translation. How about that? So, let me just do this one thing on the computer. All right. That's good. Okay. Oh, pleaser of the cows. Oh, protector of the cows. Oh, bearer of the finest hair. Oh, husband of the goddess of fortune, you are very merciful to the fallen souls. You are supremely merciful, O Lord, supremely merciful, O Keshava, Madhava, O Dina Dayal. You wear bright yellow garments and a peacock feather upon your crown. You play the flute and make it sing the name of Radha. You are the coward boy that gives great delight, O Lord, the coward boy that gives great delight. O Keshava, O Madhava, O Dina Doyal. You take away our fear of being trapped on the wheel of repeated birth and death in the material world, and you are the splendorous killer of the demon Madhu. You, the destroyer of all tribulations, you are the supreme resting place for all souls. So, we will continue with our study of the Chaitanya Bhagavat, an ecstatic study of the Chaitanya Bhagavat, and this study, other thing here, that takes care of that. App, whoops, I'm trying to just close my other apps on the phone, not on the computer. All right, I think I just got about everything else closed. There we go. So, without further ado, we're going to go to the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And the Chaitanya Bhagavat, we are reading about Lord Chaitanya's ecstatic pastimes. All right. So let us continue. So Om Gana Timidanda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Midikam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, let us continue. We'll share the screen. And here we go. So, as I mentioned before, we are just reading the English now, because that way it goes a lot faster. Okay. Text 281. In this way, Vishwambar Mahaprabhu, these we're talking about the kirtans at the house of Srivas Thakur, and some of the kirtans were in the house of Lord Chaitanya, and some of them in other places too, but generally they were in the house of Srivas Thakur. So in this way, Vishwambar Mahaprabhu danced until only 3 hours of the night remained. Sri Chaitanya Chandra then took all the Shaligram Shilas on his lap and sat on the Singasana. That means the altar, for those of you who speak English. As the Singasana made a cracking sound due to the weight of Vishwambara, Nityananda quickly touched it. Lord Ananta manifested within the throne, so it did not break as Lord Chaitanya comfortably sat on it. On the order of Lord Chaitanya, the kirtan was stopped. Then the Lord loudly revealed his glories. In Kali Yuga, I am Krishna, I am Narayan, I am the Supreme Lord and the son of Devaki. All the servants, whoops, I went too far. I am the Lord of innumerable universes. I am the object of all glorification, and all of you are my servants. I have incarnated for your sake. Whatever you offer me, that is my food. Actually, you have offered everything to me. Then Srivas replied, O Lord, everything belongs to you. The Lord said, I will eat it all. Advaita then said, O Lord, that would be most auspicious. All the servants of the Lord then offered him various items with their own hands, and the Lord, in his own ecstasy, happily ate. As he ate yogurt, milk, and butter, he repeatedly asked, bring whatever else you have. He ate various types of milk sweets, mixed with sugar, as well as sugar candy and green coconut water with its pulp. He ate bananas, flat rice, and puff rice, and then repeatedly said, bring me more. By ordinary calculation, the Lord ate in one moment enough food to feed 200 people. He then said, what else do you have? The Lord said, bring more, bring more. There's nothing left here. The devotees then became frightened and remembered the Supreme Lord. All the devotees folded their hands and fearlessly said, what do we know of your glories? With these insignificant offerings, how can we satisfy He in whose stomach innumerable universes rest? The Lord said, the offerings of a devotee are not insignificant. Therefore, quickly bring whatever you have. I regard as great even the smallest gift offered by my devotees in pure love. O Lord, we have camphor and betel nuts. The Lord replied, don't worry, give them to me. All the servants All the devotees became ecstatic and their fears were dispelled as those who were qualified offered the Lord betel nuts. All the servants joyfully offered betel nuts, and the Lord smiled as he accepted them with his own hand. The Lord rolled his eyes and roared loudly as he repeatedly called out, Nada, Nada, Nada. Of course, that's its way to Charya. So this pastime is very much reminiscent of the Govardhana Anukut ceremony. So, for those of you who don't know what that is that when the residents of Vrindavan were worshipping Govardhana, Govardhana assumed a gigantic form. Of course, Govardhana is Krishna, assumed a gigantic form, and every single thing they offered him, mounds and mounds of rice and rotis and whatever sweets, he ate. There was nothing left. And he kept saying, Anior, Anior, which means, give me more, give me more, give me more. And there was nothing else to give him. And everyone got worried. And finally they gave him a tulsi leaf. And the tulsi leaf satisfied him. So the story of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, eating everything and asking for more, and there was nothing else to give him, is very much reminiscent of the Govardhana Leela pastimes. The devotees did not say anything but sat down in silence as their hearts were struck with wonder. All the devotees saw him as the supreme chastiser. They had no strength to stand before him. Nityananda held an umbrella over Mahaprabhu's head, and Advaita offered prayers with folded hands before the Lord. In great fear, the devotees all folded their hands and remembered the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya as they bent their heads down. Anyone who was pleased to hear about this display of opulence by the Lord will certainly see the beautiful face of Lord Chaitanya. One will understand these pastimes according to his qualification. No one can understand more without the sanction of the Lord. The Lord looked at Advaita and said, ask for some benediction. I have descended here just because of you. In this way, the Lord smiled as he looked at each devotee and said, ask for some benediction. In this way, the Lord manifested his own opulences. On seeing this, the devotees floated in an ocean of bliss. No one can understand the inconceivable pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. One moment he displayed his opulences, and the next moment he fell unconscious. On regaining his external consciousness, the Lord began to cry. He then continually cried in the mood of a servant. The Lord put his arms around the devotees' shoulders and cried. He addressed each and every one of them as brother and friend. The power of his illusory energy was such that no one could recognize him. No one other than his servants can understand him in truth. The devotees smiled, and seeing the Lord's characteristics, they said, Lord Narayan has appeared. On remaining on the Singhasan for some time, Lord Gaurasundar fell unconscious in ecstasy. He fell to the ground with no symptoms of life visible in his body. Seeing this, all the devotees began to cry. Then all the devotees concluded that the Lord had left them. If the Lord displays such a cruel mood, then we will also give up our bodies at once. While the devotees were thinking in this way, the crest jewel of all omniscient persons manifested his external consciousness and loudly chanted the name of Hari. Whoops, went too far again. They all raised a tumultuous sound of ecstasy. Being overwhelmed, they did not know where they were. In this way, various ecstatic pastimes took place in Navadvipa as the Lord of Vaikuntha enjoyed his pastimes of ecstatic love. May the mind of one who hears these auspicious topics always remain at the lotus feet of Sri Gaura Chandra, surrounded by his devotees. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus ends the English translation of the Gaudiya Bhasha commentary on Srimad Bhagavat, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Majikanda, Chapter 8, entitled The Manifestation of Opulences. And if it couldn't get any more ecstatic, it will get more ecstatic. Chapter 9 is called The Lord's 21-Hour Ecstasy, and descriptions of Sridhar and other devotees' characteristics. So we'll skip the chapter summary. All glories to Gaura, the Lord of the entire universe, who disguised himself by wearing the dress of a sannyasi. All glories to Sri Chaitanya, the son of Jagannath and Sachi. All glories to Gaurasundra, who inaugurated the glorious Sankirtan movement. All glories to the Lord, who is the life of Nityananda and Gadadhar. All glories to the life and wealth of Advaita and Srivas. All glories to the life of Jagadananda and Haridas. All glories to the Lord, who is the abode of Akreshwaras and Pundarika's love. All glories to the dear Lord of Vasudeva and Sri Garbha. O Lord, please glance mercifully on the living entities. All glories to Gauranga along with his devotees. By hearing topics about Lord Chaitanya, one obtains devotional service. O brothers, please hear attentively the topics of the Majikanda regarding how Gaura Chandra Mahaprabhu enjoyed his pastimes. Now hear about Lord Chaitanya's Mahaprakash, that means great manifestation. Of course, Prakash sometimes means light or brilliant light. So it means his great, in this particular context, it means his great manifestation of his opulences and who he is. Or great revelation, during which all the Vaishnavas obtain fulfillment of their desires. This pastime is widely known as Sata Pariya Bhav, or the 21-hour ecstasy. During this period, the Lord manifested various incarnations. During this pastime, the Lord wonderfully manifested wonderful forms and awarded the devotional service of Vishnu to one and all. And that day, the devotees gave the Lord Abhishek as the king of all kings. One day, Shri Gaura Sundara Mahaprabhu came to the house of Srivas Pandit. He was accompanied by the most restless Nityananda Chandra. Gradually, all the devotees gathered there. The heart of Gauranga Mahaprabhu was absorbed in ecstasy. Manifesting his supreme opulences, he looked in the four directions. Understanding the indication of the Lord, the devotees began loud kirtan from all sides. On other days, the Lord would dance in the mood of a servant and would only momentarily manifest his opulences before withdrawing them. While dancing on this day, however, the Lord made all the devotees fortunate by going up and sitting on the throne of Lord Vishnu, that means the altar. On other days, when the Lord had manifested his ecstasy and sat on the throne of Vishnu, he had acted like he was unaware of his actions. But during this Satapariya Bhav, the Lord gave up all pretension and revealed his glories for 21 hours. All the devotees felt great ecstasy as they stood before the Lord with folded hands. How wonderful were their feelings of satisfaction. Everyone felt they were enjoying in Vaikuntha. The Lord also sat like the Lord of Vaikuntha. Not even a tinge of illusion was present there. The Lord ordered, "Recite the prayers for my Abhishek." And hearing this, the devotees happily recited. On hearing the Abhishek prayers, the Lord rolled his head and without duplicity glanced mercifully on everyone. The devotees understood the Lord's indication and decided to perform the Abhishek ceremony. All the devotees brought Ganges water and strained it with a fine, clean cloth. Thereafter, they joyfully prepared for the abhishek by mixing camphor and 4 other ingredients in the water. The tumultuous sound of Jaya Jaya was heard in the 4 directions as everyone began to recite the abhishek mantras. First, Nityananda chanted Jaya Jaya, and he happily poured water on the head of the Lord. Exalted devotees, headed by Advaita and Srivas, bathed the Lord while reciting the Purushsukta mantras. The long purport. Let's skip through this. The devotees of Gauranga were expert in chanting mantras. As they recited mantras, they joyfully poured water on the Lord. Devotees headed by Mukunda sang auspicious Abhishek songs, as some devotees cried, some danced, and some became overwhelmed with ecstasy. The chaste woman made auspicious sounds as everyone's hearts filled with ecstasy. Of course, those auspicious sounds are the ulu, like that. The Lord of Vaikuntha sat on the throne as all the devotees poured water on his head. As a formality, there were supposed to be 108 pots of water, but thousands of pots could not actually hold all that water. The fortunate demigods assumed the form of human beings and secretly took part in the Abhishek ceremony. If one offers even a drop of water at the lotus feet of the Lord in meditation, what to speak of directly, he is never subjected to the punishment of Yamaraj. That Lord was now directly accepting water from everyone. A little bit too far. Okay. The servants and maidservants of Srivas brought water and also bathed the Lord. This is the result of serving the devotees. So some of these servants weren't pure devotees to begin with, but they got the mercy of becoming pure devotees because they were servants of Srivas. There's one story about a tailor who was a meat eater, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed him with pure love of Godhead. So here's a story about a maidservant. One most fortunate maidservant named Duki brought water for the Lord, who encouraged her by saying, "Bring, bring." On seeing her devotional service, the Lord changed her name from Duki, which means miserable, to Sukhi. And here it's explained. Duki means one who is unhappy, and Sukhi means one who is happy. All the devotees bathed the Lord while chanting various Vedic mantras, and then they dried his body. Thereafter, they dressed him in new cloth and applied fragrant sandalwood paste on his transcendental body. They cleaned Vishnu's throne, and the Lords then sat down on it. Lord Nityananda held an umbrella over the Lord's head and fanned some fortunate soul fanned him with a chamra. Then all the devotees began to offer various items of worship at the lotus feet of the Lord. They offered water for washing the feet, auspicious ingredients to the hand, water for washing the mouth, sandalwood paste, flowers, incense, lamps, foodstuffs, and cloth. According to their capacity, they offered Brahman thread, clothes, and ornaments. In this way, they worshiped the Lord with 16 ingredients. The devotees dipped tulsi manjaris and sandalwood paste and repeatedly offered them at the lotus feet of the Lord. After worshiping the Lord according to the rules and regulations prescribed for chanting the 10-syllable Gopal mantra, they offered prayers. All the Lord's principal associates, headed by Advaita, fell at the Lord's feet and offered obeisances. Tears of love flowed from the eyes of the devotees. The Lord sincerely listened as they offered the following prayers. All glories to the Lord of all the universes. Please glance mercifully on the living entities who are afflicted with the threefold miseries. All glories to the original cause and Father of everyone. All glories to the Lord who is incarnated, to inaugurate the Sankirtan movement. All glories to the protector of Vedic principles and saintly persons. All glories to the Lord who gives life to everyone, from Brahma to the non-moving living entities. All glory is to the reservoir of transcendental qualities and the deliverer of the fallen souls. All glory is to the supreme shelter and friend of the poor. All glory is to the coward boy who lives in the ocean of milk. All glory is to the Lord who manifests his pastimes for the sake of his devotees. All glory is to the Lord, who is the inconceivable, unfathomable, and original truth. All glory is to the Lord, who is the most gentle form of pure goodness. All glory is to the Lord, who is the ornament and deliverer of the Brahmana community. All glory is to the Lord, who is the life and soul of all, including the Vedic principles. All glory is to the deliverer, the fallen Ajamil. All glory is to him who liberated Putana of her sins. Of course, for those who don't know the story, of Ajamil, he was a fallen Brahmin who mistreated his wife and rejected his wife and took up with a prostitute and basically committed all sorts of abominable activities towards his parents. And eventually he was leaving his body at a ripe old age, and he was remembering the name of his son Narayan, and he chanted the name of his son Narayan, and the Yamadutas were not able to do anything to him. He was saved by the Vishnu Dutas. That's a Jamil. All glories to him who does not see the faults of others and who is the beloved Lord of Lakshmi. In this way, all the exalted devotees offer their prayers. Seeing the supreme manifestation of the Lord's form, all his servants merged in an ocean of bliss. Lord Gaurachandra spontaneously extended his lotus feet, which were worshipped by all the devotees. Someone brought fragrant sandalwood paste, which he smeared on those lotus feet. Someone else offered tulsi manjaris in worship. Someone offered ornaments made of gold, silver, and gems at his lotus feet, and then offered obeisances. Everyone offered obeisances, while white, blue, and yellow silk cloth were offered at the Lord's lotus feet. They offered various types of metal containers. No one knew how many people fell at his lotus feet. The lotus feet that all living entities, beginning with Brahma, Lakshmi, and Shiva, desire to worship, were now being worshipped by the servants and maidservants of the Vaishnavas. This is the result of serving the Vaishnavas. Very important, as we mentioned before. Dukhi, the maidservant, became Sukhi. So if you serve a Vaishnava, even if you are a great rascal, you should stop being a great rascal, or a bad rascal, then you'll be liberated. They fearlessly offered fresh grass, paddy, and tulasi at the lotus feet of the Lord. Some of them brought various kinds of fruits, which they offered at the his lotus feet, while some offered sandalwood paste and flowers at the Lord's lotus feet. Someone was inspired to worship with 16 ingredients, while someone was inspired to worship with 6 ingredients. Everyone joyfully offered musk, kumkum, camphor, and red powder at the Lord's lotus feet. Those lotus feet and toenails were decorated with various flowers such as champaka, malika, kunda, kadamba, and malati. As the crest jewel of Vaikuntha manifested his opulences, he said, "Give me something to eat." All the devotees saw the Lord extend his palm. Whatever the devotees offered, the Lord ate. Someone offered bananas, someone offered soap mung dal, and others offered yogurt, condensed milk, butter, and milk. The devotees gave all these items directly into the hands of Mahaprabhu, who sincerely ate everything. Everyone ran from street to street and brought the finest items, which they quickly brought back to the Lord. Someone mixed coconut pulp with sugar and placed it directly into the Lord's hand. They brought an abundance of various sweets, which the Lord took in his hands and ate. Some offered sweets made of fused rice, rose apple, and cucumbers. Some offered sugarcane, and others offered Ganges water. On seeing the Lord's ecstatic manifestation, some servants offered 5 or 10 items. Hundreds of people offered water, all of which was drunk by the master of all mystic perfections. They offered thousands of pots. Oh my God. Shiva's house is not that big, but somehow or other the house expanded. They offered thousands of pots of yogurt, condensed milk, thousands of bunches of bananas, and a large quantity of soap bun towel. They offered large quantities of sweetmeats, fruits and roots, and thousands of containers filled with betel nuts and camphor. Oh my God. Such was the unprecedented opulence manifested by Gaura Chandra. The devotees could not understand how the Lord ate everything. The Lord happily ate the foodstuffs offered by his devotees and then began to describe their birth and activities. As a result, each devotee remembered his previous activities and joyfully fell to the ground crying. The Lord said to Srivas, "O Srivas, do you remember when you once heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Devananda Pandit? Every line of Srimad Bhagavatam is full of loving devotional mellows, and your heart melted on hearing that narration. You began to cry loudly and fell to the ground, overwhelmed with ecstasy. Not understanding your devotional sentiments, the foolish students could not understand why you were crying. You lost external consciousness while exhibiting transformations of ecstatic love, and the students carried you outside, in other words, threw you out of the Bhagavatam class. Devananda did not stop them. As the Guru was ignorant, so were his disciples. When they left you outside the door, you returned home greatly distressed. Feeling unhappy, you sat down in a solitary place and again began to read Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavatam. So the story is actually quite interesting. So Devananda Pandit basically lost his ability to understand Bhagavatam. And then later on, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was walking by Devananda Pandit's Bhagavatam class, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said out loud, very loud, "This person, Devananda Pandit, will never understand the Bhagavatam." So later on, Devananda Pandit rendered service to another devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu named Prakeshwara Pandit by protecting him when Prakeshwara Pandit was dancing in front of a large crowd. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him instructions on how to understand the Bhagavatam and how to be forgiven for his offense at Srivas Thakur's lotus feet. And that instruction was to go to Srivas Thakur and beg for forgiveness, because he had already gotten the mercy of Prakeshwara Pandit, but now he needed the mercy of the person whom he offended. That's an important point for us to understand, that even if Krishna says, you're right, or someone else says you're right, but if the person who took offense at our actions or words does not consciously forgive us, then we will still have to suffer the repercussions. Interesting. Seeing your distress, I left Vaikuntha and appeared in your body. Then I sat in your heart and made you cry by awarding you loving devotion. You became ecstatic by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and the entire area became wet as if by rain. Realizing the words of the Lord, Srivas became overwhelmed. He rolled on the ground, cried, and sighed deeply. In this way, the Lord reminded all the Vaishnavas headed by Advaita about their previous experiences. All the devotees merged in an ocean of bliss as the Lord sat down and ate betel nuts. Someone sent a message. Don't worry about it. Some devotees danced, and some devotees engaged in congregational chanting. Others chanted Jai, Jai, Sri Sachinandana. If by chance a devotee was absent, the Lord personally ordered that he should be brought there. The Lord extended his palm and said, "Give me something to eat." He then ate whatever they gave again. After eating, the Lord said, "Do you remember the night when I was sitting by your side in the form of a doctor? I cured your fever." On hearing this, the servant became overwhelmed and fell to the ground. Wow. So, what this means is that sometimes Krishna will come to us in a disguised form to help us, or Krishna will speak through someone else to help us. Just like the story of Bilvamangal Thakur, who was very attached to this prostitute named Chintamani. Nice name for a prostitute. And so Bilvamangal Thakur went to this prostitute when it was storming out. He risked his life. I'm not going to tell the whole story. But anyway, she was shocked to see him. And speaking through her mouth, his guru said that Bilvamangal, if you are as attached to Krishna, enthusiastic to worship Krishna, as you are to this body of stool, mucus, and urine, you be a pure devotee. And so he took that as his spiritual master instruction, and actually glorified Chintamani, and took sannyas at that point. In the form of a doctor, I cured your fever. So Krishna may appear to us in various ways. The Lord turned to Ganga Dasa and said, "Do you remember how one night you were running away in fear of the king? You came to the boat ghat with your entire family, but you feared calamity when no boat could be found. When you could not get a boat throughout the entire night, you became distressed and began to cry. Fearing that the Yavanas would mistreat your family, you resolved to enter the Ganges." So what does that mean? That means sometimes when people were attacked by the Yavanas means the Moguls, anyway, I'm not going to point out a particular religion, but who attacked India and killed devotees, Hindus, 80 million of them. Got it? 8 crore persons were killed. It was the largest Holocaust in human history, at least that I know of. The largest Holocaust. Innocent people. It wasn't a battlefield. It was the slaying of innocent devotees and Brahmins. 80 million over the space of about 200 years, of course, not just one day. So, his fear was real. And so how did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so I'm getting back to the point. So this Gangadas, he was ready to enter the Ganges, in other words, end his life, to drown himself, rather than have his family tortured, and have the whole family drown themselves, rather than having them tortured by the Mughals or the Turks. At that time, I crossed the Ganges and came before you as a boatman in a ferry. You were pleased to see the boat and began to speak to me with great affection. "Oh, brother, please save me this time. My caste, life, wealth, and body all belong to you. Protect me. Take me and my family across the river. I will pay you the 1 coin and give you 2 coins as a donation." Thereafter, I took you and your family across the river and then returned to Vaikuntha. On hearing these words, Gangadas floated in an ocean of bliss. Such are the pastimes of Lord Gaurasundara. While crossing the Ganges, you remembered me. Do you remember now that it was I who took you across? After hearing this, Gangadas fell unconscious to the ground. In this way, the Lord honestly narrated the activities of his devotees. The Lord of Vaikuntha sat down. His body was covered with sandalwood paste and flower garlands. One of his dear devotees fanned him, while another dear devotee combed his hair. Another beloved servant offered him betel nuts, while some danced on his left and some danced before him. In this way, the whole day passed. As evening arrived, everyone became most jubilant. All the devotees worshipped the Lord's lotus feet with incense and lamps. The sound of conchas, bells, katatels, wampers, and mridungas produced an enchanting atmosphere. As Gaurachandra sat in his full glory, he did not say anything about the devotees' activities. They offered various flowers at his lotus feet and then offered obeisances while saying, "Oh Lord, please protect us." Someone spoke with humility and someone offered praises. Only the sound of ecstatic crying was heard in the four directions. What wonderful happiness arose as night fell. Whoever came there felt like they were entering Vaikuntha. In this way, the Lord manifested his supreme opulences as all of his servants stood before him with folded hands. The lion-like Gora happily enjoyed his pastimes while extending his feet and touching the bodies of the devotees. As Sri Gaurasundara was about to give benedictions, all of his followers stood before him with folded hands. During this Sataprahariya Bhava, the Lord bestowed mercy on everyone without duplicity. He ordered, "Quickly, go and bring Shridhara. Let him come and behold my opulences." As he constantly thinks of me, he feels great unhappiness. Bring him at once so that he may see my glories. Go to the edge of town and wait there. Bring that person who is calling out my name. Following the Lord's instruction, some Vaishnavas hurried to the house of Shridhara. Now here are some topics about Shridhara. He earned his livelihood by selling banana leaves. The phrase kola gachi refers to a whole banana tree with the trunk intact. He offered half of whatever he earned in a day in worship of the Ganges. With the other half, he maintained his life. This is the test of a devotee of Vishnu. He was as truthful as Maharaja Yudhisthira. He never deviated from whatever price he fixed. Sometimes those who knew his glories would buy his goods without bargaining. In this way, he resided in Navadvip. No one recognized him, for everyone thought he was simply a banana leaf seller. He passed the entire night without sleep while loudly chanting the names of Krishna and Hari. All the atheists complained, due to Shridhara's loud cries. We cannot sleep at night and our ears are broken. He is a low-class fellow who cannot fill his stomach. Being afflicted with hunger, he stays up all night. They thought he was chanting because he was just hungry. In this way, the atheists continue their blasphemy as Shridhara happily engaged in his own activities. Shridhara continued to loudly call out the name of Hari with love throughout the night. As soon as the devotees got halfway there, they heard the loud cries of Shridhara. The devotees followed that sound and quickly found Shridhara. "O Mahashaya, come and see the Lord. Let us become glorious by your touch." On hearing the Lord's name, Shridhara became overwhelmed with ecstasy and fell unconscious to the ground. The devotees quickly picked him up and carefully brought him before Vishwambara. On seeing Shridhara, the Lord was pleased and called him, "Come, come. You have worshipped me so long. You have passed many lifetimes to obtain my love. In this life, you have also served me so much. I always eat rice off of your banana leaves. I've eaten many items obtained from you. You have forgotten your conversations with me." When the Lord manifested his pastimes as a scholar, he acted like a most arrogant person. Keeping his identity concealed, he enjoyed various pastimes with Shridhara on the pretext of buying banana leaves. He would bargain with Shridhara and just frustrate Shridhara. The Lord daily visited Shridhara's shop and bought banana leaves, bananas, and banana stems. He would daily quarrel with Shridhara for 2 hours and then buy his goods for half price. Although truthful, Shridhara quoted a reasonable price. The Lord would take the goods at half price. Then Shridhara would stand up, grab hold of the goods, and a tug of war would ensue. In this way, Shridhara and the Lord would shove each other. The Lord would say, "Oh, brother Shridhara, why do you live like an ascetic when you have so much wealth? Why are you taking the goods from my hands? Don't you know yet who I am?" The most brahminical Sridhar did not become angry. After looking at the Lord's face, he gave him all the goods. The form of Gaurasundara was more enchanting than that of Cupid. His forehead was beautifully decorated with tilak. He was dressed in a dhoti tucked in 3 places. His hair was curly, and both his nature and eyes were restless. Okay, on that happy note, we'll stop sharing and allow some of you, if you wish, to ask some questions. Let me allow you to unmute yourselves, and then you can ask some questions. So again, you can unmute yourself or raise your hand if you want to ask a question, or you can type in the chat window.
Hi, Krishna
So
Guru.
basically,
Hi, Krishna
Haribo,
Guru.
Krishna,
Uh,
question.
yeah, Krishna Guru. Krishna Guru, I just have a quick question. I'm just wondering, that like 8 crores of, innocent people were killed by these Javanas. So is that a plan by the Lord? Because here, for a devotee, the Lord specifically comes and takes away protects him. But for others, who are innocent, there is no such apparent protection. So how do we understand this?
Well, you understand it's the plan of the Lord. I mean, some of these were ritualistic brahmanas, but some were actually devotees. It's the plan of the Lord. Just like all of us, we die through one means or the other. Just like in the Battle of
Yeah.
Kurukshetra, so many people died. So sometimes, or like after the Lord left, the residents, many of the residents of Dwarka, they died practically simultaneously, killing each other. So sometimes the Lord puts his devotees into difficulty. I mean, look at what happened to Lord Jesus Christ. There's many other stories of uh, people who died serving the Supreme Personality of God in different religions, different, it's called martyrdom.
Yeah.
And in this way, they go back to Godhead. I mean, it's Krishna's plan. One devotee will get this disease. Some devotee may get cancer. Another devotee may die in an automobile accident. Someone may die because of COVID, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just that we get really shocked when a lot of people get attacked simultaneously. But it's in each and every. If we look at an individual case, there's a reason why Krishna is bringing each and every devotee back to Godhead. And certainly a devotee who's defending the deities and passes away in such a fashion will go back to Godhead.
Mhm.
Uh, and so, yeah, so it's a miserable world even for devotees. I mean, look at how devotees suffer from all these diseases. I mean, every one of us is going to die if we're devotees, non-devotees, demons, whatever, whoever we are. I mean, this body is just like so miserable.
Yeah.
I mean, just like you have to go to the doctor regularly, you go to the dentist, you go here. I mean, it's just like, and ultimately, and then your relatives pass away, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, it's a cruel world. I mean, what do you expect except for cruelty? Cruelty and misery, Dagalyam Shashvatam, Brahma Bhuvana Loka Pana Vartina Vartina, Amamba Pichu the country, Punavjanma Navijate. I mean, we have it quite easy. I mean, look at the devotees who are in Europe, and sorry, not Europe, the devotees who are in Russia,
Yes.
like that
Yeah.
story of salted bread. You read
Yeah.
that book, Salted Bread?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
It's,
it's a heavy world, heavy, 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 heavy. What can I
it's for
say?
some
I mean,
devotees,
it's
like in this pastimes, the Lord personally came as a boatman to give protection. That gives like a personal touch. Others, just that is just he just comes in the form of death. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
was wondering.
Krishna does whatever is best for the individual and for his pastimes.
Okay.
That just like we see like people died in an automobile, like Tamal Krishna Maharaj left this body in an automobile accident coming back from Mayapur. I mean, Krishna has a plan. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj had this cancer, and Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, you remember all this. It's just like,
Yeah,
what?
went through that.
What's happening? Why isn't Krishna getting, the question may arise, why isn't Krishna getting protected? Well, Krishna has a plan. We may not understand Krishna's plan, right now, but whatever he's doing is for the best. Not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And whether you're a
Yeah.
devotee or a non-devotee, of course, for a non-devotee, it's karma, but for a devotee, it's actually, Krishna directly interceding. And just like, recently I had to reach out to my godbrother Radha Govinda Maharaj, because there were some devotees who wanted to take second initiation from him. And he can't even speak properly to recite the mantras anymore because he had a stroke.
Mhm.
And so, all these things, I mean, they're heavy. It's heavy. I mean, what can I say? It's heavy. The material world is a heavy place. And we try to sugarcoat this material world. And it is heavy. I mean, look at the Pandavas. They lost their children, right?
Mhm.
I mean, and Uttara. I mean, she
Even after
lost
they won the
lost
war,
her
also
husband.
there was very.
She was only 16 years old or 15 or something. She lost her husband, Abhimanyu, right?
Right. Mhm.
Heavy place. Oh my God. Heavy place. We
Even after
shouldn't
winning
want to
the
be
war,
here.
it was such a big loss for them.
Yeah, we shouldn't want to be here except for preaching. I mean, in America, we have all our little gadgets. I'm attached to my gadgets, or nice cars and everything like that. But it's all just like phantasmagoria.
Mhm.
Your families and little children, your grandchildren, children graduating, and the marriages. You got to pay for your daughter's marriages.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, it's just like, and then after a while, it's all over. It doesn't matter what you did in the material world, because it's that whatever you did, you can't go back and get it back again,
Yeah.
right? Except for Krishna consciousness. That's the only thing that's never lost.
Mhm.
Swapamapyasya trayate mahato bayat. Swamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. Heavy place. All right.
Mhm.
Uh, oh no. So here's just one more question from someone. Uh, Brajendra Kumar asked the question of whether the Duki mentioned is the same Duki who established one of the temples. No, that was Duki Krishnadas, who became Shamananda. That's a little bit different.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
yeah, that was Duki Krishnadas, and he became Shamananda. So anyway, there's a whole story about Shamananda. So it was given that name by Srimati Radharani. Previously, his name was Duki Krishnadas. So, on that happy note, we're going to end. We'll speak to or see everybody tomorrow evening. Thank you very much. All glories to His Divine Grace.